Hello everyone, I'm CoolGuy and welcome back, and today let's talk about the combat bow playstyle in PvP. I was going to do a Monarch review, and I can still do that if you guys would like, but I've been doing so well with the Monarch and other bows in general, I thought I'd make a video on the playstyle and its benefits. We can outline what to do with them and have better games with them. We also have the Vow with Crimson Days, and I will be reviewing the Vow in a couple days or at the end of the week. It's a really good one, but I decided to make this video to talk about the playstyle. At the end, I do have some raw gameplay if you guys want to stick around for it. I joined a game where I was down 24-79. I had a we won the game. The gameplay is to show how I use the bow. I lived around the B flag and I made it mine. And it shows some of the things that we talk about in this playstyle video. The goal, again, is to understand them a little bit better, to have better games with them, and this goes for players of all skill levels. Some of you guys love bows, and some of you only run Not Forgotten and Dust Rock. That's okay. I do think that bows are underrepresented. So I use them every now and then, and recently I committed to the bow, and I had about 5 or 6 Wii Rans just yesterday with it, and looking back, I had a video not too long ago with the Trinity Ghoul, where in 3 straight games I had a Wii Ran out of medals in each of them. So it is possible to do well, and for most of the gameplay in this video, I'm going to be using the Monarch. It has a 760 draw time, the same as a Subtle Calamity, and in a bit we'll talk about why the Monarch is my bow of choice. But the combat bow playstyle has a lot of mixed reviews. I view the combat bow as a makeshift sniper playstyle, so in a direct comparison, let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses of a bow. For its strengths, number 1, it's a great peak shot weapon. It does good chunk damage, and that leads to easy cleanups. A really big one, it can receive flinch really well opposed to snipers. And since it's a primary, you always have ammo. Now for the weaknesses when compared to a sniper, it doesn't have that one-hit kill potential. That means you can't get picks with it. The bows have draw time, and with that draw time, you're unable to hit back-to-back shots quickly. Now there are more, but let's focus on these. The thing about Destiny is that there's hundreds of weapons in the game, but in PvP there ends up being a select few. We have power creep meta, only a handful end up being used. Now the current version of Destiny has some of the most diversity we've ever had in the history of the franchise. Just taking Destiny 2, when we start off, Antiope, Vigilance Wing, Uriel's Gift, Mida, when you weren't using those weapons, or a variation within the archetype, you had a steep hill to climb. But now you can go in with various weapons and have great games, and sure, there will be people that only use the meta with their Not Forgotten Dust Rock, but we're at a place now where you can still have good games using off-meta things. At the heart of it, it is played like a sniper, but it has a good zoom factor and you receive flinch a little bit better. The main thing about bows is that they are peak weapons. You shouldn't be caught out in the open. If a 1v1 happens in open space, the only one that really has a chance is the Vow or a lightweight bow that has a draw masterwork. If you're out in the open with a Trinity Ghoul or a Wish Ender, and you and enemy see each other at the same exact time, you won't even be able to land a second arrow on them. There's a direct relationship with draw time. The most common mistake is running around with these bows as a primary and using it like a pulse rifle or a scout even. You won't have good games doing that. And those weaknesses of the combat bow are enough to keep certain players away, but remember, you can run it with a shotgun, you can pair it with a quick draw weapon. Though it does have these sniper similarities, remember it is a primary weapon, but it has to be used a tad differently. And when you do that, those strengths start coming into play. As an overview with bows, the accuracy stat is really important. It's range essentially. Certain bows like the Crimson Vow does struggle at some of the longer sightlines, and other bows like, let's say, the Monarch or Trinity Ghoul, things like that, they'll hit those shots with ease at those longer distances. There is a perfect draw, and that's what you should really strive for. Right after you pull the bow, it clicks, and right after you have a very small time frame to shoot the arrow. The bows do have a tell on their sights. The Monarch fully lights up for a second, then goes away. Each one does this. I mean, the Wish Ender has an ornament where the entire bow lights up for a second, and then it goes away. That small time frame is for more damage. If you hold on to the draw, you get less damage, so keep that in mind. The bow playstyle is different from what you're used to if you haven't really given it a fair shake. The strengths are being seen in the background footage. So with the Monarch and White's my go-to bow, this archetype, it does 151 to the head and 101 to the body, but it has poison arrows. They do 8 ticks of 3 damage, so 24 total poison damage. So that turns into a 175 damage headshot and 125 damage body shot. The poison is the deciding factor. Sure, it brings back the old days of Thorn, it stops recovery, and when players go behind cover, you see the ticks, you know where they are. So all the strengths that we have for combat bows makes the Monarch the perfect pairing. I also do use Oath Keepers, and fun fact, that's Brienne of Tarth's sword's name in Game of Thrones, but with this exotic it means you always have a perfect draw, no matter what. You can hold on as long as you want, and you'll still do max damage, but in the Monarch's case, you'll always have the poison arrows. And that's key for the weapon, because if you don't get the poison arrows, it's just a regular bow with snapshot. So I kitted out for max potential with Oath Keepers, but that isn't to say if you're on a Titan or a Warlock or using another exotic that a Monarch or other bows aren't beneficial, because they're still really good. I do have some Lucky Pants gameplay in the background as well, you'll see it with the illegally modded holster. With this playstyle, there are two things that are very important: cover and your teammates, because once you notice them, then all the strengths start tying in together. The chunk damage you bring to the table makes it to where you have to be respected by the enemy team. When you're watching your lanes and get a quick shot on someone, they have to take cover. If they stop and challenge you, they're just one shot away. And a lot of times with the bow, you kind of dictate the gunfight if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing with it. If you land a headshot for 151, or in the Monarch's case for 175, and you have teammates around, that enemy will go down. So in a team setting, when your team's up there with shotguns, you're kind of cleaning up and making players weak. All the while, you're next to your cover, taking your shots, popping in and out, and by design, you're picking players off. Some players might want to pair this with a Dust Rock Blues or a shotgun to defend themselves, but here's where it gets interesting to add on to it. I pair it with a high impact hand cannon. I have a Duke. It has rapid hit and rampage. That's going to be my recommendation, a high impact hand cannon. I personally always lead with the bow, and if they get up in my face, I finish them off with a hand cannon. First shot's always the bow, then we do a cleanup. In a high impact hand cannon, especially Duke, it has the most range out of all hand cannons aside from Ace of Spades. So fall off starts coming into play, and the high damage and high range can make up for some of that. So in the Monarch's case, it makes all this very, very easy, because I know if I hit a headshot, it's 175 damage, and when I hit them in the head with the Monarch, I go for a body cleanup for the Duke. If I hit them in the body, that's 125, that means I have to hit a headshot with the Duke. So after that cleanup, I get Rampage procced, and I can now 2-tap players with it. This combination has yielded great games, but it's one of those things you have to see for yourself, try it for yourself. The cleanup into Rampage is huge. You have to be a little bit more strategic with the bow playstyle, you have to play with a little bit more precision, but I found it as a very viable setup. It's just not really represented in the Crucible right now. In most of the gameplay, again, you've been seeing Monarch, but other bows have similar results. Each archetype makes you do different things. With a precision bow, they have a good balance of chunk damage and draw time. In a pinch, I can just switch to my hand cannon and do a cleanup. With a lightweight bow, if the roll is right, you can stick right in there and go for back-to-back shots, like with the Vow from Crimson Days, which we'll be covering shortly. Each one makes you do different things, and you have to know their limitations, especially the exotic ones, like Trinity Ghoul. In the videos to show the great games you can have with them, I've asked numerous players what they thought about bows, and the answer was widely, meh, they aren't that good. But if you play smart and kind of adhere to the strengths, you can do well with them. And in the gameplay you've been seeing, I don't have hand cannon dexterity on my legs. You can put that if you want, but I found the switch at base to be fairly decent. The only thing I have aside from Oath Keepers is enhanced unflinching bow aim. Stick to the strengths and find yourself having good games. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. If you are subscribed, remember to hit the like button. What are your thoughts on the combat bow playstyle? What would you like to add? So this section is over. We do have some raw gameplay. We jumped into a game while being down. I took an early death because there's supers roaming around. I couldn't run away from one of them. But after that, we set up, we got B flag, and then we defended it, taking shots when we needed to, getting the win. It's just some gameplay to show you guys in full length how I like to use a bow. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.
Enemy down. Zone B captured. You have advantage. Zone B lost. 5 minutes. You captured Zone B. You have advantage. have my respect, Hunter. That's why we have fire team. I bet they didn't expect that. Their lead has diminished. Keep it up. With 10 hunters like you, I could make the frontier safe again. Minutes. Turn this match around, and the Crucible will never forget you. Zone A lost. Zone C captured. You have advantage. To nail the coffin shut, but you lot just won't stay down. This is yours now. What can stop you if you fight together? Nothing.
This is beautiful. You continue to be my greatest success, Guardian.
That's a power play. You took them, now hold. Zone B lost. Double down. One minute. Zone C lost. Sound tactics bring victory. Zone A lost. Your enemy has a power play.